Now, the Hunt Palmer Show.
A magic beyond anything you could ever imagine.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Sagrera Farms on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Locking down the middle of the day.
You really think that's the best idea?
Live from the Raising Cane studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
It's quite a piece of work.
Hour 2, Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. We're working towards the weekend. Brought to you by Sagrera Farms, Premium Angus Beef. Chris Blair, voice of the Tigers, along in 15 minutes, talking LSU baseball. Guaranteed Crawfish Boil just fired up in the parking lot. I went down there, grabbed a beverage for the second hour of the show. Just picked up a little Coke.
Okay,
there.
what type of beverage we talking? All right.
There is stuff out there that's more potent than Coke, but
Okay.
I chose a Coke. I can't promise I will choose the same in 54 minutes from right now.
Shouldn't.
But the bugs smelled good. Nobody's out there. How do we feel about the 2 to 4 time slot for us? We can walk down there right at 3.
It's hot. I mean, just the hottest part of the day.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
They got
have
tents out
Somebody
there.
said they got the tents. I seen that. Probably got a fan or something. But so it's at 2 right now. People can get the first batch. You want to get the first batch out the way.
Yep.
Because if it's not good, that means the second batch can be a little bit better. So you're not prime position. Second batch, like
We don't have to wait in line.
No.
Drinks will
shouldn't.
be cold. Question is, will the crawfish be hot? I think it will
better be.
with an hour left in the boil.
No. It better be.
I think we're feeling
better
good
be.
about it. Apologies to the AFR crew. I guess they could literally go out down there right now and get it done, and you can just do the whole show smelling like crawfish.
Oh, no, sir. No. we got to use this equipment. Please don't do that. Yeah, please.
You can imagine the OTV crew showing up tomorrow and being like, "Oh, this smells like crawfish boil."
Crawfish, yeah.
All right.
I can imagine what Taylor would say.
Let's get things moving here in hour number 2. Some LSU baseball talk. I've got a piece up on LouisianaSports.net. We've now got a representative sample size of SEC baseball. And you can look at statistics, and they don't tell the entire story. Numbers rarely do. But I think they do create some discussion and may illuminate some things that you were not aware of, or may highlight some problems that you weren't aware of or how significant they were. And so I just went through all the offensive statistics available and all the defensive statistics available and all the pitching statistics available and looked at where LSU ranked in league games among SEC teams. So this has nothing to do with the first 4 weeks of the season where some teams like Vanderbilt played 2 tough weekends in the non-conference. Georgia played none. And so you realize that can skew some things over the course of the first, 12 to 16 games of the season. These are only in SEC play. So how does LSU stack up? And I put the top, when LSU ranks in the top 4, I put them in green on LouisianaSports.net. When they rank in the bottom 4, I put those in red. And offensively, LSU is in the top 4 twice and in the bottom 4 twice. And the offensive stats, when you look at them, don't look that bad. You're third in the SEC in runs scored in league games. Third. You're fourth in the SEC in walks. Those are great. When you're third in the SEC in runs scored, you feel like your record's going to be pretty decent. Now, as I wrote, there's a little bit of that's skewed. LSU has scored 107 runs in 15 league games. 57 of those have come in 4 game 3s. You smashed Vanderbilt in game 3. You smashed Kentucky in game 3. You had a thriller shootout against Tennessee in game 3 and won it. And then against Ole Miss, you did score 7 runs, even though you lost the game. So you had 57 of 107 of your runs have come in 4 of your 15 games. 57 of 107 is 53% of your runs. So, yeah, your run total is very high. But does it show consistent, balanced offense, or does it show an ability to just bash bad pitching? I would venture towards the latter. But even still, you're in the top half of the SEC in batting average at 7th, in hits at 6th, in doubles at 8th, in home runs at 6th, in slugging at 6th, in fewest strikeouts at 137. You're in 5th. You're in the top half of the SEC in league games, in fewest strikeouts, slugging percentage, home runs, doubles, hits, batting average. I mean, That doesn't seem like a 6-9 team. The only two statistics offensively that you're in the bottom 4 in the league in are stolen bases, you're 12th, and sack bunts, you have 2. I mean, I wasn't expecting this team to steal a bunch of bases and sack bunt a lot anyway. So, like, the offense statistically looks okay. Now, I've seen it, and I know the story, and I know that they're not hitting aces and that the 7 pitchers that are the best ones they faced in league play, they're up pitching to a 2.15 ERA against LSU, and the Tigers have, like, struck out 54 times and walked 9. I know that, but, like, over the time of 15 games, you look like you shape up. So the question is, like, what does pitching look like then? And so I gave it a look, and I heaped in where you're in the top 4 and where you're in the bottom 4. Well, let's start where you're in the top 4. Strikeouts, you're second in SEC play. You lead the conference in strikeouts on the season. You're second in the league in strikeouts in league play. Mississippi State has more. So you're missing bats. And I think this is a telling stat. You're second in the SEC in doubles allowed. Homers and doubles are, generally speaking, hard hit balls. You can pop one up and get it out at Lindsey Nelson, maybe in the wind at Swayze, maybe in the wind at the box, honestly, Foley Field. Like, there are some home runs that aren't hit great, and there is an occasional flare double here or there. But home runs and doubles are indicative of really loud contact, and LSU is second in the league in fewest doubles allowed. But you've got a lot of statistics where you're in the bottom 4. The first one is probably the most important one. It's runs allowed. You're 13th. You've given up 100 runs in 15 games. You're 14th in the SEC. There are only 2 teams worse in issuing walks. Awful. You are the worst team in the SEC in terms of wild pitches. You are the worst team in the SEC in terms of fielding. So when you put that together, yes, you were striking guys out at a high clip. Yes, you were limiting doubles. But you give teams walks, you give teams wild pitches, you give teams errors, and therefore you're 13th in the SEC in runs allowed. This is a giving thing. Because you're 7th in the SEC in hits allowed. Not awful. It's in the top half. You're 7th in batting average against, which you would expect there. You've given up some homers, but you're 9th. You played at Lindsey Nelson. You played at Swayze. It's not necessarily that you're getting bashed all over the place. Ole Miss swung the bats better than I would have liked. Yes, for sure. I did not like Ole Miss's essentially anemic offense hitting you around for 3 days, no doubt. But sometimes that happens. You are just a functioning charity when you were on defense and pitching. Just giving. And so I don't feel like it's likely that cleans up. I don't think your catchers are going to be lights out the rest of the way. I think you can use some different arms that won't necessarily be as wild. I'm going to talk about this tomorrow. Well, I might talk about it later today, but like Maverick Rizzi is throwing too many wild pitches and issuing too many walks. I would rather throw Connor Benj out there. Connor Benj doesn't walk anybody. He hasn't thrown wild pitches. I just wish LSU wouldn't be so charitable, because that's where the problem is. And like, this is not, I'm not saying that I'm unearthing something you're not aware of here. Everyone watches this team. You watch them throw wild pitches. You watch them walk 2 guys to open an inning. You watch the errors and the fielding percentage just imploding. But man, if you just wouldn't give these teams so much, maybe you win more games. In SEC games, Cason Evans' ERA is 4.60. That's not great, but he's been functional. William Schmidt's sub-4. He's 3.97. They're not awful, but those guys can't carry the rest of the weight. And so what you've got to find a way to do if you're Nate Yeskie, whether it's pitch calling, which pitcher comes in the game, or just guys executing better, and a combination of all that, quite frankly, you've got to find a way to stop giving away bases. Because 90 feet by 90 feet by 90 feet, you're giving away the season, not just bases. I gave you the offensive numbers. They're functional. I've given you some of the pitching. It's not that bad. But when you are dead freaking last in the SEC in fielding percentages and wild pitches, and you allow the 14th most walks, I don't know what to tell you. You're not going to win games. Not at this level. And there's wise people have said, a lot of times in a college baseball game, a team loses it, a team doesn't win it. And LSU does a really good job of losing games. And the ones they're winning, they're freaking earning. You got to come back from 7 down against Kentucky and 7 down against Tennessee and fight back from 7 down against Ole Miss. Like the one game I can look at and go, man, they just played really damn good baseball, played clean, played tidy, and took care of business was the game 2 against Kentucky. Yes, Case and Evans was awesome in game 1 against Oklahoma, so that's probably 2 of them. Game 1 against Oklahoma, game 2 against Kentucky. That's kind of it. Beyond that, it's been like pulling teeth trying to get wins. And that's why you sit at 6-9. You feel like in the second half of league play, you need to try to get to 8-7. That's the quickest way. Quit giving 90 feet away by the truckload. We'll see. You want to read more about that, you can at louisianasports.net. We'll take a timeout. We'll talk to Chris Blair coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Fabry Chevrolet GMC, FabryChevrolet.com. FabryChevrolet.com is that website. If you're looking for a new truck, how about Fabry Chevrolet GMC? New Silverados, up to $11,000 off MSRP. Up to $11,000 off MSRP. Incredible deal. New GMC Sierra, up to $13,000 off MSRP or 0.0 APR financing. Just incredible deals at Fabry Chevrolet GMC. And you already know when you deal with the Fabry family, which you have for 35 years in this town, you're going to get amazing customer service, a fantastic buying experience, and great service after the sale is over with. It's Fabry Chevrolet for all your Chevy Tahoes, Chevy Suburbans, GMC Yukons, Denali's. Great customer service. Check them out on Highway 61 in St. Francisville or find them online, FabryChevrolet.com, FabryChevrolet.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Sagrera Farms.
It's like Brian Kelly may have another gig. We'll talk about that in 15 minutes. Right now, let's talk some baseball. Chris Blair, voice of the Tigers, joins us on Thursdays via the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Chris, thanks for the time. How are you?
Good, man. Looking forward to a great weekend. Good to be back home after 2 weeks on the road.
Yeah, 2 weeks on the road. One of them went a little bit better than the other. Obviously, Ole Miss gets the sweep over LSU in Oxford. A close one on Friday. Things got away from LSU on Saturday, and then Sunday was thrilling there in the 7th and 8th, and it got away from the Tigers as well. How would you describe the vibes around the team at this point after the toughest weekend of the year?
Yeah, I mean, it's been good this week. I spent some time with Coach earlier this afternoon after his media session, and, that's kind of what I asked him Monday night, even though the guys got back on Sunday, and then Monday was a day of rest. But, Jay was quick to point out that building, the Baseball Operations Center, was full of activity on Monday. Again, guys getting treatment, guys who have been kind of banged up here of late, trying to get back healthy and 100%. And guys just working, either in the cages or out on the field. So that was good. And then in talking to him earlier today, he said, hey, the week's been really good. He said, there's no more rah-rah speeches. There's no more. It's just going out and playing fundamental and executing baseball the way these guys know how to do it. And, of course, it would be different, Hunt, if we hadn't seen at times this team do all of that well. So we know it's there. And again, I think Jay said it. There's no more magical speeches. There's no more let's get in the huddle and me motivate you or our coaches motivate you. You just got to go out and play. And if you want to do what I think you want to do, which is get to the postseason, make another run at Omaha and another title, then it's got to start this week. And again, wasn't the greatest of performances, I think, on Tuesday, but you got the win. And Jay said, we got to start stacking wins, and it's got to start Tuesday. They got that one. Now the next one is on Friday, and when that one ends, then on Saturday. And you know, because you've been around him enough, every season is always about this game. It's not a series. It's not this 2-game or 5-game homestand. It's all about each and every game. So I think the sense of urgency, they're not having to preach it, Hunt, and that's what I'm excited to see this weekend. There's no preaching sense of urgency. They're either going to have it or they're not going to have the season they want. And so we'll see starting tomorrow night against a good Texas A&M team, which, you know, you look at the matchup against Ole Miss, you really, again, there was too many free passes. We can discuss that. I do think that the pitching, for the most part, especially in 2 games, was good enough to win on the road against Ole Miss. This is an Ole Miss team that they're front-loaded on their lineup, but they lead the SEC in strikeouts. And goodness knows LSU had a ton of strikeouts. But when you compare I think both teams had 29 from their pitching staffs. So that's pretty good. The problem was the free passes. And this is an A&M team that I think is right around averaging 10 runs a game in SEC play. So that's probably where it starts. You got to throw strikes. Let your defense back you up. You cannot put guys aboard by hitting them or walking them.
Yeah, I just did a segment on that, just talking about how many 90 feet LSU was giving away time and time again. And so you look to some of the guys that don't necessarily do that all that often. Certainly Zach Cowan does not. Devin Sheeran hasn't made a habit of that. And there have been some guys that have kind of showed up a little bit later. Marcos Paz and Connor Bench, to a degree, that have thrown the ball over the plate in their last few outings. Do you feel like Jay may shift some of the guys that he goes to as opposed to some of the guys that he went to in March and early April?
I think 100%. I mean, to me, that was going to be my next little point was I don't know anything. I certainly would never ask Coach Johnson that, off the record or on the record. But I'm interested this weekend to see, based on the starters who we know, if we see a different selection, at least early out of the bullpen. And again, you may look at that and go, well, wait a minute, this guy's only thrown, 11 and a third innings or 8 and a third innings on the season, or maybe more specifically in SEC play. But I think to your point, that there has been some, hey, we got to have guys that go out and throw strikes. It's like Zach Cowan. He got the start the other night. I thought he pitched well. He gave up the solo home run. I get that. And I think Devin Sheeran's a guy that you're going to see more of because just the way his style of pitching as a right-hander with that strong fastball and the way he deceives hitters until it's right there on him. Garcia, I think, is a guy who's had his moments. He's also struggled at times. But, yeah, I think you might see a different combination for a couple of reasons. One, because I think he's still looking for the guys he can count on out of that bullpen to consistently throw strikes. But I also think there's a few guys who've had plenty of opportunities in February and March. And that's not to say he's writing them off. I don't think he's going to do that. I think it's just like, let's find if maybe the first guy out of the pen ought to be this guy instead of this guy, and maybe he finds his better role. It was interesting today in the media session when asked about A&M and their pitching staff. Jay said, hey, look, Jason Kelly's back, handling their pitchers, I think, in his second year. Obviously, I have great respect for him because I hired him here, went on to be a head coach. But he talked about the way that Jason kind of molded that 22 team. The guys that we saw early in the season kind of weren't the guys that got them to the regional. So I think that might be the tipping of, we may see some different guys, at least in different situations. So that's what I'll be keeping an eye on this weekend.
They're leaning on some freshmen offensively. Obviously, Omar Cerna's been in there. Mason Braun has been in there as well. And those are not guys that maybe in January we thought would have a huge role on this team, and they are. How have you seen those two guys in their first season in Baton Rouge?
No, they've been impressive, and they're only going to get better. And again, you're going to have to take some of the good with maybe occasionally a mistake here or there. But I'll say this. I mean, there have been moments in the last 2 weekends where those two freshmen were saving graces, especially at the plate. And I'd be shocked if barring an injury or somebody having to move over another position to fill an injury, I don't think you're going to see Braun or Cerna out of the lineup. And, I asked Jay about it on Monday, and he said, look, we got Aaron Beatty and Cerna. That's going to be our DH and our catcher for the foreseeable future. And Mason Braun is going to be our first baseman for the foreseeable future. Now, what does that mean? This weekend, next 3, weekends. I don't know, but I have a hard time thinking with what they bring to the plate and the benefit they are going to get this year of playing in the top league in college baseball and getting this type of experience. I think right now they're probably leaning towards we're going to run with these guys because they're not really going to hurt us. They can help us, and goodness knows that sets them up great for 2027.
A lot of times at LSU, you bring in the phenom player, and they're a phenom from the first day, and then they go on to be a first-round draft pick and find their way into the big leagues. It's not as often that guys kind of get their feet wet and then progress and then, emerge as a junior. But Jake Brown is kind of that story where he played as a freshman, but he hit about 200. He wasn't probably ready to hit at the level, and then he platooned last year with Josh Pearson. Now he's the dude. What's it been like watching Jake Brown over the last 3 years?
Yeah, that's the thing. When I look at this team, and I've said this, I think you and I had this conversation not too long ago. I said, look, when you look at the team that was last year, which I still believe overachieved, I think the coaching staff and that team superseded what I expected compared to the 23 team. And I've told this story a million times. In 23, I thought if they didn't get to Omaha, that was going to be a huge disappointment. Last year, I thought they superseded their ceiling a little bit. And it was a great team effort. And again, that's when you got a guy like Jake Brown, who, as you pointed out, was not an everyday guy last year. He was platooning with Pearson. You saw flashes of it his freshman season. You certainly saw it last year on that run to a title. And now you got a guy who I think is a fully formed, dangerous hitter that no pitcher really wants to look up and see him at the plate, especially with runners on base. And it's been fun to watch Jake progress. I think he is certainly well on his way to a great opportunity and career in professional baseball. And, I guess get the sense, there's a lot of coaches, and you talk to a lot of coaches, they got into the business to develop. That's what they wanted to do. And, of course, the game has changed over the last 5 or 6 years. But if you get one of those or two of those or three of those, you can almost sense that the coach takes just an immense amount of pride in watching a guy go from his freshman year to what we're seeing Jake do now in his junior campaign.
Well, I don't have any stories about working or playing at Augusta National, but I'm looking forward to the weekend next year. We'll have some fun. Hopefully, win a couple of baseball games.
Yeah, let's win a few, man. Let's win a series. Let's sweep the Aggies, and it'll be interesting because they're coming off an emotional high. They didn't play the third game on Sunday due to the weather, but they took care of business against their former coach and their in-state rivals. So maybe they come in here riding a little high. And LSU, again, if they get back to fundamentals, just fielding the ball, throwing strikes, and finding some timely and clutch hitting when the opportunity presents itself, this team can certainly go on a run here down the stretch.
We'll see you tomorrow, Chris. Thanks.
You got it.
He is Chris Blair, voice of the Tigers, LSU, and Texas A&M tomorrow. Early start time tomorrow, 6 o'clock start time tomorrow for television. So that'll be over on Eagle 98.1 as well. You can start listening at 5:30. I'll be on with Chris for pregame for a 6 o'clock first pitch. 7 o'clock late on Saturday first pitch. And then the, as usual, afternoon time on Sunday. Tigers and Aggies. Ags in the top 10. They can really swing the bats. We'll get into previewing them on tomorrow's show. And I'm looking forward to getting in the box. They're all I will probably say big weekend for LSU until they have lost enough where it's not a big weekend, then it's a big weekend. And maybe they don't lose enough, and they're all big, and that's what I'm hoping for. This one certainly qualifies a huge, huge, huge opportunity and series for LSU. If you win a couple here, you're okay. You lose 2, you're in some trouble. You get swept on your home field, you've lost 6 in a row, you got real problems. That just is what it is. So hopefully the Tigers can come out and get a couple. I'm not getting greedy here. I'm not asking to sweep a team that's going to hit a ton. They're going to hit some home runs this week. They're probably going to score 10 or 12 in a game this weekend. That's not to suggest LSU can't match that. They did it certainly in Knoxville. They're capable, but A&M's going to have a game this weekend where they hit like crazy. That might be one you drop. But if you win the other 2, you're in good shape. So we'll see. Looking forward to my time in the booth this weekend. I'll be with Chris tomorrow starting at 5:30 for pregame. 6 o'clock first pitch. LSU and A&M from the box. Let's talk about Brian Kelly's new gig. What does that mean? It's next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Lifetime Roofing. Find them online at lifetimeroofingla.com. Lifetimeroofingla.com. Look, a roofing decision is a big decision. That's obvious. It's big for multiple reasons. One, your roof is what protects your home. It's, for most people, their most valuable asset. It certainly protects your family, which is anybody's most valuable asset. It's also big in the sense that it can carry a pretty significant price tag. So when you think about a new roof, whether that comes as a result of some sort of situation or you just need a new one because yours is old and not functioning properly, Lifetime Roofing needs to be on your list. Give them a call. Let them do that inspection. They'll check it out. If you need a new roof, they're happy to put a new roof on your home, and they'll allow you to finance it up to 18 months, 0%. Maybe it's not a new roof that you need. Maybe you just need a repair. They'll do the repair. Maybe you just need a fortification. Strengthen that thing, tune it up. They'll do that as well. They're locally owned and operated. They're right here in Baton Rouge. And look, as of January 1st, you get a lifetime workmanship warranty. That's on the workmanship as well as the materials, which are backed by CertainTeed, one of the oldest and most trusted names in building materials. It's Lifetime Roofing. If you need a roof, give them a call. Check them out online. LifetimeRoofingLA.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Sagrera Farms.
Thursday show is brought to you by Sagrera Farms Premium Angus Beef. Let me remind you about One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is that website. You know, safety is a big, big deal when it comes to bathrooms for those that are getting up in age. And if you feel like there's somebody in your life who may have a hazard in the bathroom, hey, One Bath and Closets, David Duvall and his team, happy to help you out with that. They can put in non-slip floors. They can put in handrails and slippery places. They can put in walk-in tubs for safety, for comfort. They can put in a bench in your shower. If these are not things you have thought of, David and his team do it all the time. So if there's someone you have in mind that may need some assistance in the bathroom, One Bath and Closets is happy to do it. Go to the website and see some of the pictures of their awesome work. You can request that free consultation with David. He'll just talk to you about what they can help you with. If you're looking for financing options, they have them, 0% up to 18 months. It's One Bath and Closets. They've been at this for 40 years. Give them a call. Go with the trusted name here in Baton Rouge. It's David Duvall and One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com. All right, so over the weekend into Tuesday, Brian Kelly showed up. He's kind of been under the radar, not doing a lot. Did one interview on SiriusXM, but showed up on CBS Sports Network. He was sitting alongside Brent Stover, Kevin Carter, and Beanie Wells, and they were talking draft. And it sounds like that's not going to be his last time on the desk. It sounds like he's going to be part of the CBS Sports Network team moving forward into the summer and into football season. And you may say, I don't care. I don't really watch CBS Sports Network. And I don't really care about Brian Kelly because he didn't coach my team anymore. And that's fair, but it does matter. It does matter. Because LSU owes Brian Kelly a lot of cash to the tune of $800,000 every single month. That's part of the $54 million buyout. $800K a month for the next 5 years, okay? And every cent he makes in either coaching or in broadcasting comes out of that buyout. Now, I'm not a recruiter. I'm not a general manager or CEO of a television station. I'm not in charge of hiring or negotiating contracts. I'm not an agent. So I don't know what Brian Kelly can make by being on CBS Sports Network. I don't know if they're asking him for 13, 15 hours a week. I don't know if they're asking him for just 4 hours a week. I don't know if he's on a daily show. I have no idea what the actual scope of work's going to be for CBS Sports Network. And so, therefore, I can't even ballpark what they're going to pay him. But anything's going to help because, as you are well aware, the almighty dollar runs everything in college sports. And now that dollar is not just for coaches and buyouts and facilities. You got to pay the players. And the money that you spend buying out a football coach could theoretically be used for a left tackle or a point guard or a Friday night starter or a cornerback or a power forward. You get the picture. You got revenue. You got money that you can pull together and spend. But if you're shelling it out on the other side, it hurts business. So Brian Kelly getting a gig with CBS Sports is great for LSU. Now, in his contract, it stipulated he had to, quote unquote, find work, make an effort. And I don't know how earnest that effort had to be, and I don't know what the contract negotiations are going to look like. But look, and I don't know if there are laws against this, but this is something that I think about. It's like, if I'm Brian Kelly, more specifically, if I'm CBS Sports, and I can get Brian Kelly to come do some work, and I'll talk about what I think about him on television in a second, but we'll talk about the money because the thing that matters about it to LSU. And I know that he's making $800,000 a month from LSU. Well, what's the minimum I can pay you, coach? Because it's not going to change your income. Unless CBS is going to pay him more than $800,000 a month, which they're not, then Kelly's making the same thing no matter what. It's just a matter of whether LSU fits 100% of the bill, 80% of the bill, 60% of the bill, 50% of the bill, whatever. But he's making the same. So if I'm CBS Sports, I'm going, all right, well, I'll pay you $80,000 a year. LSU can handle the rest. They're on the hook for the $10 million anyway. That's what I would do. So I don't know how big an impact this is going to make on LSU, but it's certainly not going to hurt. So you'll take the extra money that Brian Kelly is going to put back in your kitty by working. Now, as far as Brian Kelly goes on the air, I think he'll be okay. I think I probably have a different view of Brian Kelly than a lot of people. I think most people feel strongly about Brian Kelly. His approval rating is very, very low. It was very, very low at Notre Dame for two reasons. One, you're the head coach at Notre Dame, and most people who aren't Notre Dame fans don't like Notre Dame. And two, his demeanor was unlikable. He was unpleasant. He was short. He was often red-faced and screaming and profane, and he just wasn't likable. And I think he probably, once he got a $100 million payday, came to Baton Rouge and said, I can do a little bit better than that. Like, I don't have the stress of cultivating my career. Now I'm just here to try to win football games, not climb the ladder. So I can probably be a little bit better about that. He let the media into practice. He came into press conference with a smile on his face. He attempted to make some jokes. I think that was a little bit against his nature. And certainly at practice, we saw him get upset and, lay into players and coaches for sure. But he wasn't nearly as animated as he was or unpleasant as he was at Notre Dame. I don't necessarily find him to be the most entertaining or witty guy in the room. He tried to make some dad jokes that were funny because they weren't funny, and I appreciated that. Some of the jokes were not great. Some of them didn't land. Oftentimes he would make a joke and then go, that's a joke. And that's the key. That's the tell that it probably wasn't the best joke ever. But he obviously knows football extremely well. He knows the coaches in the sport very well. He's competed against the best in the sport. He's competed against Kirby. He's competed against Kalen DeBoer. He's competed against some of the guys at the top of the sport. So you feel like he's got a real handle on what's going on in college sports right now. He's dealt with the changing rules with the NIL and the transfer portal, and he's dealt with the revenue sharing and all that goes into assembling a roster and dealing with the money. I think he becomes immediately a voice of authority on that in a way that even like Nick Saban can't really be a voice of authority. He's been out of the game for 2.5 years. I think that he's more impactful in that way than Kirk Herbstreit or Joel Klatt, or pick your voice of college football. He's been in the fire, and he obviously knows the game. So if he sticks to that and makes his corny jokes, I think he'll be fine. You don't have the pressure of wins and losses. You don't have the pressure of dealing with 19 and 20-year-old kids who make more money than you. You don't have to deal with a lot of that stuff. I think he can do a good job. I'm not all that interested in the job he's going to do. I'm more interested in how much money CBS is going to pay him to take off of LSU's plate, and hopefully it's fairly representative of the job he will do. I'm confident he will get a bit of a reduction in pay from CBS because LSU's supplementing it. But if you can cut $300K off that, it's $300K. I mean, I know a couple of programs on this campus that'll take $300,000. I promise you. So we'll see. what comes of it, but it sounds like Brian Kelly will be making a home on CBS Sports Network moving forward into this football season. You hope that over the course of the next 5 years where you have that offset, he either becomes a real asset to one of those networks and gets that big deal on CBS or gets that big deal on Fox or ESPN, or somebody wants to hire him and they pay him a sizable amount of money to be their football coach. That's the key. He was generally going to get on the ground floor, and that's probably what this is. But hey, any money will help, and this should ultimately help LSU in some way. How do you think he's going to be on TV?
Hunt, I'm going to be honest, man. I'd rather watch a penguin solve a Rubik's Cube than sit there and listen to Brian Kelly talk anything about college football.
Yeah,
honestly,
you're the same as most people.
Hey, look, and people going to hear this. Look, listen, guys. I don't think my opinion about Brian Kelly is a little bit different. I agree with you. He might not be the worst guy ever, but just the last taste of my mouth is just him snapping on all the coaches in the Texas A&M game, seeing the season just unravel. It was already pretty much unraveled, but just that, I just cannot get that image out of my head where he was like, I guess like the special teams coach or something like that. He was just like spazzing on this guy's like, you're fired after the game. Like just seeing all that, the A&M fans swaying in the crowd and just the optics. That is the lasting image I have of Brian Kelly, and that will be the only image I have of Brian Kelly. So seeing him on TV, I almost like, I might need to go to rehab or something. I started shaking. Like, what is this?
I'll take the cash.
Yes.
Just offset the cash.
Look, like you said, there's programs on this campus that $300K will be the world. So CBS, pay him, get him out my face, get him out my life.
Yeah, and to be clear, I just threw that number out. I have no idea what they're going to pay him. We'll take whatever it is over there on Dalrymple. All right. Well, I guess Nicholson is the street I was looking for.
Yeah, close enough.
Whatever. All right. We'll come back and close it out next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Highland Insurance Group, HighlandIG.com. HighlandIG.com is the website. I tell y'all all the time that Highland Insurance Group is more than happy to come in and write your property and casualty insurance. That's one of the things they're great at, but it's not the only thing they're great at. If you are having trouble as a business owner, as a CFO, of dealing with your employee benefits, the Highland Insurance Group is more than happy to help you with that. They can give you a second set of eyes. They can give you a second option for your employees' medical, dental, vision, all those benefits that help you retain your employees, keep them happy, and attract new talent into your organization. Benefits is very, very important, and it's a huge piece of the bottom line for so many businesses. If you fall into that category and you've had a couple of bad renewals or you think the next one might not be great, the Highland Insurance Group is more than happy to help you with your benefits. Yes, property and casualty, they got you covered there as well. If you're looking for new benefits, maybe looking for a second opinion, the Highland Insurance Group can help you with that. They're online at HighlandIG.com. It's the Highland Insurance Group, HighlandIG.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Sagrera Farms.
The Thursday shows are brought to you by Sagrera Farms Premium Angus Beef. Sagrera Farms Premium Angus Beef. You know, you can tell when you've got a great piece of meat and when you just don't. You can tell. And when you work with Sean Sagrera at Sagrera Farms, you know that you're getting prime Angus beef. That intramuscular fat score tells the story. If it's between 0 and 3, you're talking about select. That's the bottom of the barrel. That choice beef, it's about 60% of the beef out there is between 4 and 8. Beyond that, on the scale is prime. Everything you get from Sagrera Farms is prime. But you're talking about 11, 12, 16, 18 on that scale. The best of the best just north of Baton Rouge. This is not a fluke. It's a process. It's genetically mating superior cattle and getting incredible results time and time and time again. This cattle is raised on grass, finished on grain, dry aged 45 days. It is tender, it is flavorful, it is incredibly marbled, and you will love it. So go to Sagrera Farms. Talk to Sean. You don't have to put a deposit down. You don't pay a cent if you don't like it. But it's prime, and it's awesome. And it's what we've got at the Palmer House, and we're not going back. It's Sagrera Farms Premium Angus Beef. You can give Sean a call at 225-719-1723. Say, hey, I'd like to get some beef, like to fill the freezer. He's happy to help. They've got it on the farm. It's ready for you up there in Ethel, 30 minutes from Baton Rouge. Sagrera Farms, premium Angus beef, bringing you our Thursday shows. All right. Final order of business. Take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Today's hottest stories in sports, news, and sometimes even Hunt's life. The question is, will he take them or leave them?
All right, Hunt. So Los Angeles guard Luka Doncic and Detroit Pistons guard Cade Cunningham will be eligible for the end of the season awards. The NBA and the National Players Association came together Thursday that they're going to allow them to bypass the 65-game threshold for the eligibility requirements. So Doncic played 64 games, but he missed 2 games for the birth of his child. And Cade Cunningham played 63 games, but he missed 12 games because he had a collapsed lung. Somebody fell on him in mid-March. So was this valid for the NBA to make exceptions to the rule? Take it or leave it?
Take it.
I'll take it.
I don't need a guy who's averaging a triple-double over 26 games to win MVP.
Yep.
But if you're right there and you had a kid and you missed a Tuesday, Thursday,
No, he's right there.
I'm fine. I think they are absolutely – they had enough impact on the season to warrant awards. Doesn't mean they have to win the awards, but to allow them a vote, I think is completely fine.
Especially because, again, like you said, 64 games and 63 games. We're not talking they played 20 games or something like that.
You're close.
They're right there. So, all right, a former Alabama football player is facing charges of wire fraud and identity theft after he was allegedly using wigs and fake driver's license to impersonate NFL players of the purpose of nearly securing $20 million in loans, according to federal court records. Prosecutors allege that Luther Davis pretended to be 3 different NFL players.
He was from Louisiana.
Oh, really? From May 2023 to October 2024, the 3 players are Atlanta Falcons quarterback Michael Penix, David Njoku for the Cleveland Browns. Well, he's not in the Browns no more, former Browns tight end, and Green Bay Packers safety Xavier McKinney. So is it too easy to steal somebody's identity in 2026? Take it or leave it.
I'll take it, but it wasn't for Luther Davis. My man went to West Monroe. I remember that name.
Wow.
I remembered that name. Class of 2007, around my time. That's just remarkably stupid.
Fake wigs.
You want to fake an ID to get into a club?
Yeah, a little bar or something. Yeah.
You want to do that? You want to get $20 million in loans? You are a clown. Go sit in the jail. That's absurd. I don't don't have another way to say that.
No, really
$20 million bucks?
Yeah.
I'm David Njoku. Come on, man. Ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm Michael Penix.
Luther Davis from West Monroe went to play for Saban in the Tide.
Yeah, man. Maybe he went to LSU. It might be a different story. So the Dodgers shattered.
Or if he would have just born 15 years later and he could have got NIL, wouldn't have to steal money.
That, or maybe not trying to run up $20 million on fake wigs and fake IDs.
Fake wigs.
You sooner or later you're not Michael Penix Jr. who doesn't even have hair. But all right, the Dodgers, the Dodgers shattered the spending record, $550 million on their payroll for their second straight World Series title, despite they have the deferred payments, and this is 7 times more than the lowest team at $68.7 million of the Miami Marlins. So at some point, this has to change, right? Take it or leave it.
I'll take it.
I'll take it.
I think something's going to change. I don't think they're going to get a salary cap.
Okay.
I think they'll get a spending floor to make ownership come up on prices so that you don't have such a disparity. But I don't think they're going to be able to get the players to agree to a salary cap. The argument against that, and this is above my pay grade significantly, is that the 30 billionaire groups can outweight the players who don't have enough money, who have to go play.
Yes.
So maybe that's the case, and that's certainly the strategy they will use, but I just don't know that they're going to be able to get a salary cap put in. We'll see. That's
crazy, though. $500 million to $68 million.
I mean, it's absurd. They pay more in luxury tax penalties than some of the teams pay in payroll. It's not fair. It's just not. Now, my team happens to be able to spend a bunch of money.
Yeah.
So I don't spend a lot of time complaining about it, and I champion the Dodgers.
Yeah, they're doing the right
for
thing.
Playing by the rules and going to try to win a championship, and they won 2 in a row.
Yeah.
But it's impossible to truly ask the Pirates to beat the Dodgers. It's just it's an impossibility.
So that's it for Take It or Leave It.
All right, that's it for a Thursday show. Football practice report at the top of the show. Got to see another 2 hours today. You can read about it at LouisianaSports.net or check that out at the top of our show. Hunt on LSU is where you can find all of our LSU content. Talk to Joe Healy about SEC baseball. Talk to Chris Blair. I gave some thoughts on baseball as well as some thoughts on DJ Pickett as well, and some Saints mock draft stuff. You can look at that at the Hunt on Saints. I'm gonna get some crawfish. We're back same time, same place tomorrow. Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
First, let me tell you about Fabry Chevrolet GMC. FabryChevrolet.com is the website. FabryChevrolet.com is that website. Every car that is on the lot is online at FabryChevrolet.com. The Fabry family has been at this 35 years in Baton Rouge. You know the family. The 5 different locations, 3 brands. We're talking about now on Highway 61 in St. Francisville. Unbelievable customer service, great buying experience, and great service after the sale. So if the summer months are creeping up on you and you know that it's almost time to pile the family in that SUV and take that road trip, wherever it may be, to the beach or to the grandparents' house or wherever you're headed, well, it's a great time to get a new SUV. You can get a GMC Yukon, GMC Denali, Chevy Tahoe. They've got them there on the lot at FabryChevrolet.com. Check them out online. You can go to Highway 61 in St. Francisville, take that short drive up, and make that purchase. It's Fabry Chevrolet. You can always find them online at FabryChevrolet.com.